Well, lads, we did it. After 4 long, cold, hard years, the bundle has finally been added to Minecraft. Oh, but that's not all. On top of the bundle, a brand new trial chambers, new banner patterns, and even more. Over the course of today's video, we'll be diving into everything in Minecraft's newest update that's out right now. Beginning with banner patterns, 2 brand new ones, at least for Minecraft to Java, the Field Mason banner pattern and the Border Indented banner pattern. Alongside the addition of these 2 brand new banner patterns, we actually have the removal of those old patterns from the loom right here. Now, if you want to do the bricked up pattern, or if you want to go for this cool wavy indented pattern, then you're going to need to have one of these 2 banner patterns. This icon has also been updated too. Now, today's video, this is for the Minecraft Java version of this update. For the Bedrock update, check this one. The video's already out right now. Funnily enough, the Bedrock update is significantly different. And if you're looking to get a little bit more up close and personal with this brand new update, channel members, great news. There's a world download out right now. Subscribe and tap that join button for a little bit more info. Oh, but the elephant in the room, how could I not even say it? The brand new banner patterns, of course, Border Indented Field Mason, they got a brand new aesthetic, but so does every single other banner pattern in the entire game. Look at how good and beautiful and tasty they look. It almost looks like a roll of toilet paper with like something on it. Maybe a nose, I don't know, but either way, they're so beautiful looking. Nothing about the crafting recipes for all these banner patterns or where you found them has changed though. It's just the aesthetic. The salmon have received one of their largest updates, no pun intended, inside of this update. Look at how big that guy is. The whole different size salmon thing, it's a parody thing from Minecraft Bedrock Edition. Well, it's been moved over to Java as well. Mechanically, the salmon is going to be exactly the same, but size-wise, oh, it's so different. Now, also, when you pick up a salmon, its size is going to be preserved. So, theoretically, you can make a pond of only the world's largest salmon. Water mobs, that's not all that has changed, though. These 3 different water mobs, the dolphin, the squid, and the glow squid, they now all have baby variants as well. How in the world do you create these baby variants in survival? Well, you just gotta find them. You see, the devs didn't think it was necessary to be able to breed squid or dolphin or anything like that. Inside of this pretty massive update, we've got some brand new death messages. The first message, no lisp. Our first message is going to say something or someone was smashed by something or someone. And of course, keep in mind, if you've been in the loop with Minecraft since like this summer, then you would know to get smashed, you're gonna need a mace. So this would involve somebody smashing something with a mace. The other message here is for when we have a mace with a custom name. We're gonna add with item to the end of it, and that would be whatever the name of the mace is. So example, if somebody used my mace on me, this would say Waddles was smashed by Waddles with tapping the like button. Alright, it's a little bit of broken English right there, but I think you get the hint. Ah, yes, the age-old spawner has been in the game for years. Listen. Oh, that's a juicy and echoey sounding sound. I love it. It's beautiful. Not that you would want to break this thing in survival, but also listen. It sounds like I'm digging through a pile of chains or something. It sounds good. And then listen. Yeah, so the spawner, it gets all brand new sounds. New place sound, new walk sound, new break sound, and just... oh my gosh. I could listen to that all day long. It's music to my ears. Redstone. Oh, it's beautiful and a feature that is entirely unique to this version of the update. It's not in the Bedrock update for whatever reason. The redstone torch, look at how good that looks. Now, this redstone torch, the new updated one, when it's off, say on a repeater or whatever, it looks the same. But as soon as you get a little bit of power involved, oh, it lights up. This is so much better looking. I love how it like kind of like cubifies the torch and just looks like, you know, a little bit more modern or whatever. This is going to translate over to any instance that you will have a redstone torch. So comparator, repeaters, whatever. And to be clear, we're going to talk about experiments later on in this video, but this one right here is not an experimental feature. No. Now, if it feels like you've been hearing about the bundles of Bravery drop or 1.21.2 numerically for like ages, well, that's because you have. Barring any surprise last-minute snapshots, bug fixes, or changes, this update was developed over the course of 8 snapshots, 5 pre-releases, and a total of 1 release candidate, with the development to this update beginning initially late this summer in August. This update, no joke, is one of the largest updates to come to Minecraft since, like, really, the main update that dropped this summer. The size of this update, both feature-wise and technical side, is about the size of the major updates that we've been getting every summer for years. It's crazy. Now, one of those things that is included in this update that also feels like one of those things that we were talking about a million years ago is all of the bee updates that have happened inside of this update. Inside of this update, we have a ton of refinements to the bee's AI, pathfinding, brains, operations, and even home as well. So first things first, when we have a bee and it exits its home, it will wander for a little bit less time. It's also going to wander a little bit less far. Bees have this interesting mechanic which might let you down if you didn't know about it, like maybe your bees have all gone missing in your world. Well, that's probably because they took too long previously to return back to home sweet home. If a bee wanders for too long, it can despawn. Inside of this update, that wandering time that it has been increased. Bees are also a lot less likely to try and pathfind to an impossible to reach flower, maybe one under the ground or something. And they are a lot less likely to get stuck on the corner of a block when pathfinding now. But wait, there's more involving the bee. Check this one out. Here I have a bee nest hive, whatever, with honey inside of it and a bee inside of it as well, I believe. If I silk touch this thing and pick it up, it drops on the ground just like before. If I go ahead and take a look at this thing right there, it's hard to see, but the icon right there uses a filled item icon now, like the little holes are filled up. This one is a little bit easier to see, but it's still admittedly a little bit tricky to see because of the side of the block that the honey is pouring out of. Now, if I go ahead and hover over these items right here, we can see a little bit more information. We would have never known any of this stuff before. I can now see that there is one bee inside of it, and the honey level is 5 out of 5, meaning it's ready to be harvested. This one, on the other hand, there are 2 bees inside of it, and the honey level, again, 5 out of 5. Now, as soon as you have these items and you place them back down, they will continue to behave exactly as they would have behaved before. Essentially, it's just new information pop-ups that you get, and I can't lie, I cannot believe that this wasn't a thing before. This is so nice. Slime blocks have also gotten a pretty large update in the form of a bug fix. So the slime block, you kind of know how this thing works. If you've used them before, you may be familiar with their super unique properties. Like, for example, if I land in a slime block, I kind of just bounce around. It's pretty cool. To stop bouncing, I can go ahead and shift. Well, and then I stop bouncing. How it's worked for the longest time is when you're falling on a slime block and you hold down shift, when you land on a slime block, you take fall damage. Inside of this update, that will no longer happen. Now today, usually we save technical changes for the end, but I figured maybe we'll go ahead and split them up throughout today's video. That way, the boring technical section isn't just like all long and boring and whatever. Inside of accessibility settings, we have a brand new setting all the way down here at the bottom. High contrast block outlines. By default, this will be off. If I go ahead and flip that one on, back out of the menus and look at a block, whoa, yeah, the block outline right there, it's like neon and crazy and like really cool looking. This is gonna work with any block in the entire game, and that is just insane. One of the trippiest looking ones for me is when you place a flower down and look at it, like you can see actually like the hitbox of the flower or whatever, and this is pretty cool. I still really wish there was a slider in here too where you could change the RGB, the coloration of this high contrast block outline thing. When it comes to game performance, we've got a brand new toggle inside of here. Pause the game options. It's right inside of video settings. Reduce FPS when AFK. This right here is a frame rate limiter. This is going to be ideal if you're like, say, AFKing inside of your game and you're doing other things on your computer. If I go ahead and change this, I can change it to minimize, so it'll reduce the FPS when the game is minimized. Or alternatively, if I have it by default at reduce FPS when AFK, if I don't touch the keyboard for a minute, FPS will be lowered and capped at 30. After 10 minutes, my FPS will be limited to 10. This is basically to make sure Minecraft isn't hogging your computer resources behind the scenes. When it comes to languages, you've got a brand new one inside of this update. That language is called High Norwegian, and I mean, it's the High Norwegian language. It's just fun to say. High Norwegian. Pumpkins, the carved versions of them, they get a brand new functionality. Now, this one is going to be a little bit difficult to show off here because I'm not on a server. But let's say I was on a server and I had a map. My friend had a map as well. When you're on a map, you know how things work. You kind of get this little like pointer icon going on. Well, now, if I have a carved pumpkin and I put this carved pumpkin on, my icon will actually be removed from the map for all other players. Like, they're not going to be able to know where I am because I don't show up on the map at all. This is such a cool, sneaky little functionality, and I love it. It might be great for pranking people on servers. Chunks. By pressing F3 and G, we can see that our world is built up of individual separate chunks. These chunks are 16 by 16 block areas. Now, depending on what your simulation distance toggle is set at, a different amount of chunks around you will be loaded at any given time. But for essentially, as long as there's been chunks in the game, we've had little machines called chunk loaders in the game, and oh boy, inside of this update, a chunk loader gets way easier because now, to build a chunk loader, all you need to do is have an ender pearl stasis chamber inside of your chunk. Now, an ender pearl stasis chamber, that is essentially this creation right here. I got a little bit of soul sand at the bottom, a bunch of water sources, and then a soul sand floating in water. An ender pearl floating in water. While an ender pearl is inside of a chunk, that chunk will be loaded. That means, of course, if you have an ender pearl and you throw it across a bunch of chunks, well, all those chunks that it exits and enters, they are all loaded while it's inside of it. But also, if you have an ender pearl inside of a different chunk, well, then as long as that ender pearl is real in there, that chunk will be loaded. Even better for servers, this is on a player-by-player basis. Let's say this is my server right here, and I have an ender pearl inside of that bubble column because I threw the ender pearl, so, you know, it's mine. Well, if I went ahead and logged out of the server, that ender pearl would go away. Then, when I jump back into the server, I go ahead and give it a minute, that ender pearl will load back right up exactly where it was before, and again, the chunk loader is back in action. This is a beautiful change, especially if you, say, have a farm inside of your world that you want to always stay active, maybe your iron farm, but you don't want to always be at it. Next up, the nether portal. The nether portal has some big, gigantic changes. First up, the pearl change. So first things first, let's say we had a portal right here that I've used before. Now I can go ahead and say, take my ender pearl, throw it through the portal. And that pearl is going to behave better than ever before with the portal. This is going to work both directions as well. You could throw it to enter the nether. You could go ahead and throw it to exit the nether. This also remembers things directionally as well, which is pretty advanced, which means if I throw this through the portal this way, then I'm going to be placed into the nether, like out of the portal in that same direction. Which will mean if I go ahead and go to the back of the portal and go through this is almost like I walked like straight through the portal, starting from this side and, you know, like walked straight forward through it. It's really cool. We've also had a couple of changes when it comes to different entities interacting with portals. Arrows. The cooldown for an arrow going through a portal is now down to 0.1 second. Previously, it was 15 seconds. On the other hand, different rideable entities, like, say, the minecart, 15 seconds previously, down to 0.5 seconds. The boat, same thing as well. Keep in mind that Minecraft 1.21 changed it, so you could take a rideable entity and be in that entity and go in and out through another portal as well. This one, maybe specifically like the minecart one, or maybe the boat one if you're trying to move villagers around, is so useful. Smithing templates added in Minecraft 1.20. Well, inside of this update, they've got a brand new better names. Previously, every smithing template, the name was like smithing template, and then the sub information down low where it now says smithing template was like the specific name. Now we have the name and armor trim. So like I armor trim, Dune armor trim up at the top, and then smithing template is going to be our sub information. A similar change went down with the banner patterns as well. Now we've got the proper name of whatever pattern that is on the banner pattern name. And kind of like similar to brand new naming, well, we've got an overhaul of the rarity system and how this thing is going to work. First things first, demotion of items. The rarity system, to be clear, it's like the color of an item name. So like, for example, we can see it over here. This one is yellow, so that's going to be uncommon rarity. Meanwhile, this one is magenta. That's going to be epic rarity. Some items are deemed to be less rare inside of the game than other items. And this rarity system is basically just to let players know how big of a flex it is that you have one of those items. So again, with our rework, these two items have been demoted. I think previously they were like rare tier, maybe even higher. And now, because this is craftable, this is pretty easily craftable as well, they are now common item. And to be clear, most items in the game are deemed as common rarity. If an item doesn't have a specified rarity, it defaults to common. Anyway, items with a white name, they are common rarity. Items with a yellow name are considered uncommon rarity. Our uncommon items inside of this update, brand new to be uncommon. Everything that you're looking at inside of this chest here. That's going to be every goat horn, every single shard, all of the ominous bottles, and some, not all, but some of the armor trims. We have even more uncommon items sitting inside of this box as well. This will also include many of the music discs, but not all of the discs. Next up, we go from yellow to light blue. This is going to be the rare tier. The rare items that are now rare, new inside of this update, well, those are going to be everything that you're taking a look at inside of this chest, including, I believe, what is a downgrade for the trident that was previously maybe epic. These two banner patterns are going to be found inside of this tier as well, and this is due to the fact of how they're crafted, and a new rule that we'll talk about in a second. Last but not least, we've got epic rarity, the rarest items in the game, 3 of them. The Elytra now has a magenta name. It's cool, it looks good. The dragon head, same thing, and the silence armor trim, the hardest trim to get in the entire game. Rarity crafting rules. So alongside this brand new rarity system, we have a brand new rules that are going to come into play here. Let's say maybe I had me some items and I wanted to craft me up something else with those items. However, one of those items is a higher rarity than say like the default rarity. So this one right here is uncommon. Well, because these items are used in the crafting recipe, then whatever is crafted, the output needs to be at least uncommon rarity, maybe even higher. So the banner patterns, for example, this pattern right here is crafted with a wither skeleton skull sometimes, and that skull is rare, so this has to be at least rare. A couple other technical changes, beginning with performance. So right now, for this video, I'm running things with a little bit of Optifine going on, so it's bound to be smooth no matter what. However, in the vanilla game, without any Optifine at all, you will notice your game is significantly smoother inside of this update. This is all due to a whole bunch of back-end changes the devs have made with chunk loading, game performance, gameplay, and all of that type of business. And seriously, this isn't one of those times where they say there's performance upgrades inside of the update and you can't really notice. Like, your game, your world should load significantly faster. Also, chunk loading should be much quicker as well. Pause the game. Options, resource packs. All the way down to the bottom, we've got this high contrast resource pack. This is built into the vanilla game. If I go ahead and enable this, well, every single menu in the entire game is changed and is going to look completely different. This high contrast resource pack has been here for a second, but inside of this update, we've got a brand new item word pop-up box. When I hover over an item, we now have a neon blue outline, and yeah, basically the contrast is a little bit better on this thing, and you can read it easier. And related to the brand new item inside of this update, how could I? Almost forgot about it. We have brand new high contrast pop-ups here as well. When scrolling through the bundle right here, check out how those items are highlighted. Yeah, that's a brand new higher contrast than ever before. Personally, I'm a huge fan of this whole high contrast thing and the neon mode that it sends you to. A lot of the way through our update video today, I'd like to quickly remind you to tap that subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you haven't heard, recently, Mojang has changed how Minecraft development is going to be done, and basically, it's going to speed up. Updates will be coming out more frequently than they've ever come out before. It's my love to keep you in the know and updated with all of the updates every single day. But how could we? The elephant, the real elephant in the room here, the update is called the Bundles of Bravery. When it comes to Bravery, that's like hardcore mode on Bedrock Edition, so wah-wah. But on Java, I guess the Bundles of update, well, it comes with, of course, the bundle. Originally debuted at Minecraft Live 2020, a million trillion years ago at last. I can't believe it. Inside of the crafting table, new recipe for the bundle. One piece of leather, one string. It's easy to craft, easier than ever before, in fact. And then we'll get our hands on a bundle, a plain old one. The tooltip right here tells us that it will hold a mixed stack of items. Now, a mixed stack of items, that basically means up to 64 items in a regular situation. To use the bundle inside of my inventory, all I need to do is pick up an item and drop that item on the bundle. Those items will then promptly be thrown inside of the bundle. It's pretty beautiful. Now, once I start loading items up into the bundle, we get a little bit of information. First things first, all of the items right here, that is so cool looking. By using the mouse scroll wheel, I can go ahead and select any item in the bundle in any order and pull that item out of the bundle. We also see that little blue bar at the bottom that's basically telling me how full the bundle is. While holding the bundle in the hotbar, if I use it, I will spit out the items, but I will spit them out one by one in the order in which they are in the bundle. So that means next up, we've got the propagule that will be dropped out of the bundle. Up to a stack of items can be put into a bundle at any given time. Now, a stack of items is different for every item in a game. Say oak planks, many blocks, most blocks actually, it's going to be a stack is 64. Something like a snowball, on the other hand, one stack is technically 16, so that means a stack fills up the bundle. On the other hand, a tool, well, a stack is one item, so one item fills up the bundle. Now, there's actually quite a bit to know about the bundle, and for that, I've got a special guide for you. If you would like to enlighten yourself even more on the bundles, some best uses, stacking potions, and even more, then check out the Everything series episode on the bundle after this video. We go over it all right there. However, there is one more thing that I would like to talk about when it comes to the bundle, and that is, of course, dyeing the bundle. Inside of a crafting table, with items in it or not, doesn't matter. Place a dye next to a bundle, and you'll be able to dye it whatever color that dye is. There are 16 different colors of the bundle, 17 if you want to include that plain old undyed version of the bundle. Once you dye a bundle, you can re-dye it a different color, but you cannot undye it. Functionality, a dyed bundle is exactly the same to all of the other bundles. It's just a great way to maybe be able to identify which bundle is for what, or maybe even give your friends a colorful present. Potions. Next up, potions. We've got to change to potions and how they're going to work. Previously, if you wanted to get the maximum duration of an effect from a potion, like a splash one, you would throw it straight up in the air and have it hit your head. When you do that, you will get just about the full duration of the potion effect. Well, now, you don't need to only throw it up into the air. You can throw it straight down at your feet, and you will get just about the same thing as well. Crafting table. Inside of the crafting table, maybe I want to make the most suspicious stew of all time. Well, now, if I want to, every single recipe is now inside of the crafting table. Now, what each strange suspicious stew will actually do for you, it doesn't tell you. It just shows you that you could use a red tulip to make a suspicious stew. It's up to you to remember what each one does. Bats, maybe the most underappreciated, underused, and pointless Minecraft mob. If I went ahead and flipped things over to midnight in my little old world here and gave things time, eventually I could now see bats beginning to spawn up here on the surface. Now, on Minecraft Bedrock Edition, this bat spawning mechanic is a little bit different, or at least I believe it to be different, because in the changelog, it doesn't mention on Java that you will need these specific blocks for the bat to be able to spawn. However, on Bedrock, that's how it works. No matter what though, up on the surface, if an area is dark enough, you will be able to see bats spawning. Previously, this bat spawning, it was limited to down below Y64, so that would mean even in a post-Caves and Cliffs update world, something like a high-up cave like this right here, well, you would probably never end up seeing a bat inside of it. Personally, I love the idea of bats spawning more in the overworld, and I love the idea of maybe changing it even more and making it so bats spawn more frequently in, say, a forest, like they do in real life. Dog feeding, oh, there, Bones. So I've been wondering where you were this whole video. You're just sitting back here quietly, patiently. You're adorable. That's perfect. All of these different fish items, raw and cooked, and not cookable, the poisonous. Yeah, you can feed your dog these things now to heal the dog up. You could also fill your dog up with a little bit of rabbit stew too. The Blaze Mob, we've got a brand new texture. To see this texture, you got to get up close and personal. The texture we're talking about, taking a look at here, it's the bottom of all of the rods that are spinning around the blaze. The bottom of the rod now matches the color fading gradient. And previously, and this is such a small detail, but previously, the bottom of the rod, well, the bottom of the thing used the same texture as the top of the thing. And that makes no sense if you take a look at the fade that this boy has going on, top to the bottom. So earlier on, you know, I called this update the bundles of update for Minecraft Java. Well, I actually take it back, because when it comes to the bravery part of this update, in this update, there actually is something significant that Bedrock Edition doesn't really have. Inside of the trial chambers, Minecraft's newest structure that was added this past summer, we've got a couple big changes. First things first, the beds. The beds inside of this structure, they are now entirely color randomized, which means you can find any color of bed in the entire game in this structure. Now, actually, when it comes to the updated version of the trial chamber, I've got a little essentially everything series episode on every part of the structure, so I'll link it on screen. Check it out next. Another new thing we'll be able to find around this structure is, in place of those empty chests that would sit at the entrance of most chambers in the structure, we will now find a dynamic duo hopper barrel combination. This is meant to be an easier to use, more straightforward and obvious item drop-off thing than ever before. Like, you can run up to this thing and throw things inside of it. When you find this thing generating, it will never have any loot inside it. In the trial chamber, be careful, because you'll also find a couple of new traps as well. Look at this evil one. Inside of this structure, if I go ahead and run over here, open the door, and move down over here, and I want a shortcut, well, I will shortcut myself all the way down onto a floor of pointed dripstone now. Oh, that's brutal. It doesn't happen every time, but every time it does happen, that's evil. And then we also have a new thing called an encounter. An encounter is going to be a very rare part of the trial chamber structure. They don't generate enough for whatever reason, but basically, it's a mini trial that will walk you into the main trial chamber room. So this right here is an example of an encounter. We will always have a vault inside of that room, and then some kind of spawner. Maybe it's a breeze one. Maybe it's one of the spawners that like matches with the other spawners in your trial chamber. But basically, it's a different room, and there are many different variants. Again, check out the full guide video on those after this one. It's a mini room where you could like kind of begin your little trialing adventure. One of the most brutal ones specifically is a very big room, much larger than this one, with a bunch of parkour and pointed dripstone all over the floor. What were the devs cooking with this? It's actually insane. Take a look at this menu right here. Like, take a real close to the menu, and you tell me if you notice anything different, because something majorly different is going on here. All right, 3, 2, 1, guessing game is over. The item highlight right here, it's different. Our item highlight now is going to highlight behind the item. Previously, it would have highlighted essentially the item and behind it as well. This is going to give the item, when you like highlight it in your inventory, whatever, a little bit more of a spot to shine and stand out. Bubbles. Ooh, this one is big. Now, this is a change that Bedrock Edition got earlier this year, and I believe 1.21.30, but check this out. I'm under the water. Listen. I don't know if you can hear it, but the bubbles right there, you can see it for sure. Brand new, it deflated, the oxygen bubbles will happen, and a little popping sound happens as well. Now you have a clear visual indicator as to what's going on when it comes to your breathing situation under the water. You can now see just how far you've come, how much progress you've made when it comes to losing your breath under the water. Also, when you are drowning, those little bubbles, they wiggle too, which is pretty cool looking. Hey, but a Minecraft pro tip for this update, just don't drown. Technical overhaul. Oh boy, when I say technical overhaul, I don't even mean just an overhaul. I mean, like, all right, take a look at this. On the side of the screen, we can see the scroll bar and where it is. In relation to, like, the entire update right here, we're not even halfway down on this thing. The amount of technical changes are insane inside of this update. By the time this update hits your game, under the hood, the game is essentially a brand new game. This is a process that they've been working on for a long time, since like Minecraft Live last year, where Agnes said they are trying to speed up updates. Inside of this update, technical stuff, mainly like item components and making it easier to add your own items or maybe new vanilla items going forward. Well, it's way easier to do than ever before thanks to a whole bunch of brand new components and technical adjustments under the hood. And these technical adjustments, I mean, this whole video could just be on the technical adjustments. Like, we have brand new options for particle textures, different advancements and triggers and things like that, definitions for enchantments, loot tables, models, and so much more. If you're a data pack creator, I highly recommend like maybe sliding over to that changelog, I'll link it down below, or just going over to Slice Slime's channel and watching all of the technical showcase videos that he's been doing with every snapshot, because wow, it's insane. Shulker boxes, shulker dyeing. We have a change inside of this update. Let's say I had a shulker box, it was already a specific color. Inside of the crafting table, I cannot go ahead and re-dye it. Like previously, I could put a red shulker box in here, put a red dye, and output, I would get a red shulker box. It would be unchanged. It doesn't work anymore. Also, the recipes of the shulker box, like the different colors, they will all pop up now. And last but not least, assuming no last second changes again, there are 310 bug fixes inside of this update. This thing is insane. Again, just like with all of the technical changes, the bug fixes and kind of like the changes that come with them, that could be its whole own video as well. The amount of polishing that has gone down inside of this update is insane. We're going to see differences in creative mode, in survival mode, to different blocks like the slime block we talked about earlier, and so much more. Even more insane, a good majority of these bugs are not from the most recent update. Instead, they're from like the trial chamber update from the middle of the summer and maybe even beyond. Yeah, so overall, the Bundles of Bravery update is a very brave and large update, but, my friend, that is not all, because inside of the Bundles of Bravery update, kind of adjacent to it, we have 3 brand new experimental toggles. Another thing with these experimental toggles is if you've already created a world, you cannot enable them, and they are only enableable from the main menu. We're looking at 3 new ones: minecart improvements, redstone experiments, and then the big one, winter drop. Inside of the main update, if you enable these in your world, they are fully checkoutable and playable. But they aren't technically like fully released or anything like that, and they don't exist, at least 2 of these things don't exist on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. We'll kick things off with the minecart test. There's quite a bit here. We've got a brand new game rule, faster speeds, better jumps, smoother motion. We've got a new accessibility setting and better collision than ever before. This currently has no planned release date, but the goal here is to make minecarts a little bit better and like incentivize their use. Pause the game, go to options, go to accessibility settings, scroll down a little bit, and then we will see a brand new option, rotate with minecarts. This is about your FOV. If I turn this on, then I have a minecart and I sit in the cart and I just like start driving the minecart and I'm not touching the mouse. Check that out. My face is turning and keeping like looking the same direction that it always was with this minecart. It's a little bit different, maybe useful, kind of trippy looking. I don't know if I exactly love that one. Smoother motion than ever before. It's gonna be hard to notice, but take a look at this minecart and how it's moving around those tracks. That is really smooth, like how it's turning and everything like that. The jump of the minecart right here, it's pretty different too. Minecart jumping over those tracks right there, it actually angles when it jumps and falls now, and like lands really smooth, and you know, kind of, I could basically watch this all day long. I'm hypnotizing myself. It's wonderful. Game rule, minecart to max speed. By default, this thing is going to be 8. However, you can now set this thing all the way up to 1,000. I'll go ahead and set that thing to 1,000. I queue up a minecart right here, and I have just a couple of different booster rails. Previously, this would only speed up a little bit. Well, I go ahead and change the game rule and push the minecart on that thing, and that will continue to speed up until eventually this is at 1,000 blocks per second. Now let's go ahead and level this up a little bit more with a willing test subject. Go ahead and put that thing inside of it. Go ahead and give our friend a little bit of time to speed up. Maybe flick the lever and Well, just like that, because the minecart speed is set to 1,000, it's moving 1,000 blocks. Well, if I had let this thing, like, queue up, it would go 1,000 blocks per second. I didn't let it queue up enough time, but either way, that is a really far away minecart, and unfortunately, no more villager. Minecart launchers are one of the coolest things that you gotta mess with this experiment. It's pretty fun. Next up, a little bit less exciting but kind of cool still, the redstone test experiments. The goal here is to optimize redstone a little bit. We've got better performance, more predictability. To pull all this off, the update order has been changed with a left-leaning preference. So this is the Java exclusive with, again, no current release date. But honestly, just like with the minecart one, we haven't seen changes to this toggle in quite a bit of time. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next update this is included. So check this out. In the middle, we have a lever here. We have two pistons. Distance-wise, this is equidistant. However, the piston on the left will always be updated in this situation right here. There is no randomization at all. On the other hand, let's say this lever was a little bit closer to this left piston right there. Well, then same thing is going to happen. That piston is always going to be updated first, even though both pistons are technically being powered at the exact same moment. This is all happening because blockwise, like the amount of dust in between this lever and this piston is less than this lever and that piston. If I go ahead and flip things over and say put the lever over here, now the opposite will happen. This piston will always be powered first. And again, if we've got an equidistant situation here, then the left piston always gets powered. And so we've made it all the way through today's video. I'd like to send a huge shout out to you if you watched the video. If you haven't yet, tap that like button, subscribe. And down below in the description are all of my links, my Twitter, my Insta, drop a follow. Channel members, a world download, check it out next. And all of the videos that I've referred to, you tap that eye in the corner, you get the card on screen. You keep your eyes peeled for a video on this stuff in a little bit more detail very soon is the winter drop update. All of these features are allegedly going to be releasing by the end of the year. Rapid fire right here. We've got a brand new wood set called the Pale Oak Wood Set. It comes with a brand new log, a brand new stripped log, a brand new plank, a brand new slabs and staircases. A wood set is a wood set, so that means we get a new fence, we get a brand new door with an old crusty sound. We get trap doors, buttons, pressure plates as well, and a sign. The hanging version of it uses the original texture, which was initially a lot more gray. Brand new type of moss is called pale moss. You can bone meal this stuff just like normal, and you get moss carpets too. You also have a brand new hanging variant of the moss called hanging moss, pale. We've got a new leaf, a new sapling, a brand new tree that'll make up a brand new biome you'll be able to find called the Pale Garden. And then the big thing inside of this update, the creaking heart, and the brand new mob, the creaking. For even more on all of these new features and their really in-depth new mechanics, well, make sure you subscribe. The bundles of bravery and the new experiments, that is just about it for today, my friends. What's your favorite part of this update? Tell me about it down below. I'd love to hear. If you're one of those players who plays both versions of the game, now is a great time to check out the video for Bedrock Edition. I put it out a little bit early this time. That update is significantly different with hardcore mode and even more. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been me, Waddles, and I will see you all tomorrow with hopefully a brand new snapshot for the next update. Goodbye, everyone.